Pleasure. Appreciate it. Yeah, you guys are going to tell him from Philadelphia in just about a minute when you hear how fast I talk. But thanks. Charlie told me that it's okay if I just keep talking through lunch. You guys can pick up something on the way home. Is that okay? So it's fine. Okay. It's great to be like the last speaker here before we actually break for food. That always puts everybody in a really good mood. But look, let's talk. We have an hour to talk, just a little bit less than an hour. I promise I'll finish on time. I have a lot of information that I want to share with all of you guys. You guys are business owners, managers, executives at companies. I run a 10-person company outside of Philadelphia. I also write every day for the Washington Post, and I also write every week for Forbes and Inc. and Entrepreneur magazine, all on business management issues. So I've been doing this for years. And during the course of my writings, during the course of the services that we provide for our clients, I have met like thousands of business owners and managers all across the country. Really successful ones and some that are not so successful. And I've been doing this for a while. And there has been this thing that's always been sort of in the back of my mind whenever I meet people. You guys must know, do you ever meet, and I'm sure some of you guys are these people that are just, through good times and bad times, you succeed. You know, like your business, you meet those guys that are like, when I say guys, I mean men and women, just owners, managers, that they're running companies that recessions come and go, weather comes and go, events, things in Washington, economic issues, whatever, they're still here. You know, like 5 years, 10 years, 20, 25 years. And I always think about those people, that run those companies, and I say to myself, what is it? What is the one thing that these successful business owners have? Like, what's the one common characteristic that keeps them in business? Not only just growing, but frankly surviving during certain times. What is the one thing? And I can tell you what that one thing is. For starters, though, just to make sure, they all seem to have certain minor things in common. Like, they're all pretty good at math, right? Like, to run a business, it helps to know math, right? To buy something for $1 and sell it for $3. They're usually all pretty good with people. They're usually pretty good at motivating and have a good attitude. But I can tell you that the number one thing that they all have in common, they are all looking ahead. The people that you talk to right now that are running successful organizations are not thinking about 2017 anymore, even though we are in September 2017. And in fact, many of them have already thought through 2018. But the smartest ones that I know, they are always looking 2, 3, 4 years ahead. Because when you run a business, when you run a small company or a medium-sized company, you try to avoid surprises. You want to make sure that you are thinking and planning. And why is that? Well, here's why it is for you. You're taking time out of your very busy day to be here to hear these kinds of things so that you can think about it. Because why? You have people that rely on you. You have employees and their families that are looking to you for their livelihoods. You have customers that rely on you for their business. You have suppliers that rely on you and partners. They are hoping that you are navigating your company in the right direction so that they continue to do business with you and their families continue to have a livelihood because you're making the right choices. That's why you're here, and that's why you're getting paid the big bucks, I hope, okay, relatively. So that's what I'm going to share with you this morning. So in the next 2.5, 3 hours I've got to speak, I'm going to share, I'm just kidding. There are a few things that are going on in the world. A few things in Washington, a few things in the economy, even a few quick technologies I'd like to share with you. I didn't come up with this. I'm not that creative. This is just what smart business owners are thinking about now. And then the actions that they're taking. This is not just facts. This is like what they're doing to make sure that they're in good shape over the next couple of years. So I'm going to share that with you, and we can go through that. I have a lot to share. So clearly, if you have questions as I talk, by all means, raise your hand. I'll try and stick around for a little bit afterwards to answer some questions as well. But just to make sure, I know it's late in the morning. You guys have heard a lot of information. So it's getting, lunch is coming up. Just to make sure that you guys are keeping up with things, I'll ask you guys some questions as well. So I'll give you an example. Questions aren't so hard. I like true or false questions, like this one. Like true or false, New York is the world's largest city. Anybody? True, false? Yeah, it's false, right? See, that wasn't so hard. Anyone want to guess what the world's largest city is? Or Beijing? Mexico City? Huntsville? No? Somebody said like Jacksonville, Florida, because it is like the world's largest city by like square miles or some forgot thing. But that's not it either, okay? It's actually the world's largest city, Tokyo. 38 million people. 38 million people live in Tokyo. I'm pretty sure in the same building somewhere right off the Ginza, from what I can tell, because they're all kind of crammed in there. New York is number 9. It's half the size of Tokyo. Some of the other cities that you mentioned are also. It's pretty much a list of 9 cities I personally would never want to live in. But I'm sure the people there are happy living in those cities. How about this one? True or false? Russian is one of the top 5 most spoken languages in the world. True or false? Now, it's actually true. Russian is the 5th most spoken language in the world. 277 million people speak Russian. Can anybody guess what the number 1 most spoken language is in the world? I heard Japanese. It's Mandarin. There are a lot of Chinese people in the world, right? Many of them are in China, and they're all speaking Mandarin to each other. This rounds out. English is number 2, which is half the amount of Hindustani and Spanish. And how about this? True or false? Beginning January of this year, it became illegal to pose for a selfie with a tiger in New York State. Is that true or false? It is false. It was 2015. See, you got it. You guys got to keep up on this information. Now, that's why I'm here. I'll make sure I keep you guys current on what's going on, okay? Hey, okay. Let's move on to some of the issues that are facing up. Like, I'm very busy with this right now and writing about this right now. You know what's going on in Washington? They're talking about repealing Obamacare, right? We thought this whole issue had like gone away, and the Senate had failed to win this vote, and now they're talking about a repeal of Obamacare. And it affects all of us as business owners. Why? Because when you look at your P&L of your companies, after payroll or maybe direct materials, healthcare it's like in the top 4, right, of your top expenses that you have. We're trying to get a handle on what we're spending on healthcare. We're trying to get rid of this, look ahead. And here we go now, more things going on in DC that might have an impact on that. Let me explain to you a little bit about what is going on behind the scenes. See, the Senate has a September 30th deadline. If they're going to do any type of repeals of Obamacare, it all has to be within a budget reconciliation. And that budget rules, they end at the end of the fiscal year. It ends like September 30th is when it comes due. After September 30th, to have any legislation to repeal this legislation would require 60 votes in the Senate, right? So they don't have 60 votes to do that. So the Republicans don't. So they need 50 votes right now. They can still get away with actually 51 votes to repeal the Affordable Care Act if they can do it before September 30th. There is a bill right now sponsored by 2 senators, Graham and Cassidy, that are very confident. Bill Cassidy just said yesterday, we are thinking that we can actually get this done by September 30th. And when you look at what this new bill has, here's just some information for you, what it contains, because it affects all of us. For starters, key elements of it's not a complete repeal, and it certainly doesn't have any of the support of the Democrats in the Senate, but these key elements of the Affordable Care Act, the individual mandate, that is the requirement that all of us have health care insurance, right? We have to report it on our tax returns. That would go away. That requirement would be no more. The corporate mandate, for any of us in companies with more than 50 people, right, 50 full-timers, that we have to pay, we have to provide affordable health care insurance to our full-time people or pay a penalty, that's going to go away as well as part of this bill. In addition, some of the controversial coverages that the Affordable Care Act allows, like covering coverages for abortion and certain diagnostic tests and things like that, that also would go away in this bill. And finally, the Affordable Care Act marketplaces, the Obamacare exchanges, they would go away as well, meaning that within the next couple of years, we'd be back to buying our health insurance either through our employers or through private agents. So these are some of the big things that would actually go away in this new bill. But guys, there's actually more that would happen as well. For starters, it would give the states a huge amount of power. Trump himself is very much a states-oriented type of administration. He believes that the more money that's given to local authorities to spend, the more intelligent that they are to spend that money rather than letting the federal government spend that money. So, and it was consistent with that, in this bill, instead of having the federal government pay large Medicaid and Medicare subsidies to a lot of people, they want to hand it down as block grants to all the states. And the states themselves would get this money based on a formula as to how many people that are at or above the poverty level. And then the states would be given their power to do whatever they want with that money. They can apply it to whatever subsidies they want. They can fund the insurance companies the way they want to fund it so that people are getting the coverage that they want to do it. In other words, leaving that power in their hands. In addition, the states would also have the power to go back to the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington and ask to get some of the Affordable Care Act essential benefits waived. So right now there are certain things that are required by law, like pre-existing conditions. That's like a big one, right? Which is I talk to a lot of business owners. I know a lot of people that are opposed to covering people with pre-existing conditions. It's expensive to do, but somebody loses their job, and they shouldn't lose their insurance. But it's an issue, and it's an expensive thing. Now states can go back for that whole list of essential benefits, and they can ask for a waiver from the federal government whether to apply it or not. And the Department of Health and Human Services will be asking them, well, what are you going to be doing in return if we waive you to do that? But a whole bunch of power that would be given to the states and a whole bunch of things that would fall out of the Affordable Care Act. Now, just so you know, I want to keep this very balanced here, the opponents, of course, because this is new, so the numbers themselves have not been sort of calculated by the Congressional Budget Office yet, but this is what you'll be hearing over the next couple of weeks. You will be hearing that it's going to result in deep cuts long-term to Medicaid, that it will result in significant increases to the uninsured. There will be significant cuts in federal subsidies, that it will, of course, weaken those pre-existing conditions I just talked about, and it could potentially destabilize the insurance market. We're going to be hearing about all this over the next couple of weeks. Just keep in mind that whatever people are saying about this bill, both the supporters of the bill and the opponents of the bill are really working with sort of gray numbers right now. They're trying to rush this thing through, and that may be good, it may not be good. But here's the thing. We're running our companies. We're watching what's going on CNN and Fox News and reading in the paper and MSNBC, whatever the case is. We got a business to run, right? We got to figure out, what do we do? How does this impact us? Well, I'm going to tell you how it impacts us and what you want to do. Remember when I told you I talked to all business owners about what they're doing? Well, in 2017, and again, this is not my creation, this is what business people are doing right now regarding healthcare. So if you're running a company and you've got employees, this is what your fellow employers are doing for 2018 and either 2019. It's only a few things, but this is what they're doing. Number one, when I speak to business owners, the vast majority of them are continuing to stick with those high deductible plans. So if you've got a high deductible plan in your business, you are well within the majority. Many of those business owners, they're pushing more and more costs where they can down to their employees and sharing those costs with them. So therefore, the employees are picking up a bigger piece of the pie. However, health savings accounts have been extremely popular over the past 3 years, growing by more than 40% in participation and dollars. I don't know if you guys have a health savings account in your company, but if you've got a health care plan, you've got to set up a health savings account. A health savings account, it's like hundreds of dollars to set up. It's peanuts. You can do it for any size company. Your employees can put money away pre-tax. You can put money away pre-tax for them. It's like a 401k for healthcare. It rolls over into future years, and then they can take that money out and use it to pay for some of these higher out-of-pocket expenses or deductibles. So HSAs, health savings accounts, hugely popular. And then, by the way, the Graham-Cassidy bill, one of the provisions is to increase the amounts now that people can contribute to health savings accounts. So high deductible plans coupled with an HSA, very big this year and next. Number two, I am seeing a huge amount of popularity in something called level funded plans. A level funded plan, it's also called a hybrid plan. It's partly self-insurance, but it's good self-insurance. It works like this. You say to your employees, listen, for the first $200 in expenses that you've got, just bring me your invoice or the receipt and we'll cut you a check to cover you for it. Everything after $200, boom, a group insurance plan kicks in. So that way, you're self-insuring at the lowest level, and then the group insurer comes in after you've done that. If you do that, depending on the age and demographics and history of your employees, you could pay up to 15 to 20% less in healthcare next year if you consider a level funded or a hybrid plan. Talk to your benefits administrator, whoever's providing your insurance. I'm seeing that as a hugely popular thing among the business people that I'm talking to across the country in 2017. Finally, number 3, in December of 2016, Congress passed the 21st Century Cures Act. It makes healthcare reimbursement accounts okay again. If you had one of these before, you were really penalized. You're no longer penalized. What that means is this: if you don't want to offer health insurance, or you're offering health insurance, but that's not that great or whatever, you can't afford to offer like a better plan, you can set up a healthcare reimbursement accounts for your employees. And you can contribute money to that pre-tax. They can contribute it too. They can take that same money and then go and buy their health insurance anywhere else. So it's just another benefit. And I'm finding more and more of my clients and readers are looking at this now and implementing that. It's like, man, we're trying to recruit people here in a low unemployment economy, and we have to be able to say to them, somebody's saying like, oh, your health plan isn't as good as the guy down the street. You want to be able to say, well, here's what we've got the counter. And one of them is a healthcare reimbursement account. Revisit it this year because it passed last year and it's become very, very popular. Those are the 3 big things that are going on with healthcare right now. That's what you need to know, and those are the actions that you want to take. Okay, let's see what we've learned. True or false? A repeal of Obamacare has full support of the entire Congress. Okay, it's false, okay? As we know, right now the Republicans are anywhere from 3 to 23 votes short of passing the Graham-Cassidy bill, but they're close though, because there are a lot of people that are really on the fence, but certainly not on the Democrat side. It's a fully Republican-sorted bill. True or false? A level-funded plan combines group and self-insurance options. It's true, okay? Talk to your benefits administrator about it. Consider getting a level-funded plan. You pay out of pocket for a few $100 per employee, and then your group insurance will cover you after that. And true or false, treatment for male pattern baldness is an essential health benefit. It's actually false. But you know what, guys? I'm keeping my fingers crossed. You never know. Things can happen. There's always a lot of changes in D.C. And true or false, the Pirates' Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter high on LSD. Charlie, true? Yeah, that's true. Listen, for all of you youngsters in the room, let me explain this, okay? Doc Ellis was he's not even in the Hall of Fame, but a fantastic pitcher for the Pirates. Some of you guys remember this guy? He pitched like in the early 70s, right? So he's a big pitcher for the Pirates. He was a great pitcher. It was like 1972, 73. He was having a great season. The guy was like crushing it. It was like in April or May, winning lots of games, striking out people. Anyway, it was a Saturday. He was not scheduled to pitch that day. He had the entire day off. So he took some LSD, right? I mean, you know, not that I'm recommending it to people around here or whatever, but that's what he did. It was 1973. Anyway, he takes some LSD. Within 10 minutes of taking LSD, his manager calls him and says, Doc, we got a problem. Our starting pitcher for today, he can't make it anymore. I know you've had some rest. Can you fill in for him and pitch the game today? So Doc, he had just taken some LSD. He goes, sure, what the hell? So Doc Ellis comes in and he pitches a complete game, no-hitter, completely high on LSD, and you can look that up. There's a whole documentary about it on YouTube. Okay, here's what we've learned so far. Healthcare, very uncertain after 2017. HSAs, level-funded plans, getting hotter. Keep them in mind. All right, let's talk about your employees next. Anybody know who this guy is? This is Alexander Acosta. He is the Secretary of Labor. Okay? He is our most recent Secretary of Labor. He is supported by both the left and the right, a former dean of Florida Law School. He is right now making some decisions and making some plans that will affect all of us in this room. For starters, some of the things that you want to make sure you know about. In 2017 and into 2018, wages, according to Korn Ferry, Towers Perrin, HR consulting firms, they are planning to go up about 3% this year, nationally. So you're benchmarking wages for your employees. That's sort of the number that you want to keep in. Paychex, the big payroll firm, they just released data for their 600,000 clients. They're at like 2.7% so far this year in 2017. So not so far off. That's the number that you want to be benchmarking is 3%. Minimum wage. This is going to come on the table in 2018. In Alabama, it's $7.25 an hour. Nationally, that's exactly the same. However, both Trump and Acosta support an increase in the minimum wage to to as much as $10 or $11 an hour nationally. That increase in minimum wage, what Acosta wants is to set it and forget it, meaning that once they've increased the minimum wage, he wants it increased annually after that based on some cost of living adjustments. We have to go back here and battle this every couple of years. So that impacts if you have minimum wage workers. Even if you don't have minimum wage workers, this impacts your business. Why? Because Alabama's minimum wage is $7.25, so is the national minimum wage. You got a guy working for you that's making $14, $15 an hour. He's making twice the minimum wage. If the national wage goes up to $11 an hour minimum, what do you think that guy's going to be saying to you, right? Like, what? I was making twice the minimum wage. Now I'm only making $4 more. Like, I deserve a raise too. So an increase in the minimum wage has an impact on all wages. Keep your eyes and ears open. This is going to come back up in 2018. Smart business owners always looking ahead. Overtime rules. That got kind of tabled last year. Remember back in December, the overtime wages were going to go up, when you're paying salaried workers, and if they were not supervising anybody, you would owe them more money if they worked overtime, up to $47,000 in wages. Well, it got sued, and then the Obama administration countersued, and then in January, no more Obama administration. So they kind of left there. However, Alexander Acosta's picked this back up again. He is planning an increase to overtime wages in 2018. Right now, if you pay anybody more than $24,000 a year, they're not entitled to overtime. He's going to consider raising that somewhere between $24,000 to $47,000. It won't be as high as $47,000. I'm looking at somewhere in the 30s, which means if you got any employees in your business right now that are making in the low to mid 30s that might be eligible for overtime wages, you might be affected by this. 2018, you want to keep that in mind as well. The big thing that you want to do right now, though, is you want to address this issue, which is paid time off. Paid time off right now, there's no national legislation for paid time off, but on the local level, we're seeing that in different areas, different places requiring it, and certainly some companies are offering paid time off. And for example, Bank of America, I shouldn't even say this, we're here like a community bank function. Bank of America, 16 weeks of paid time off they offer to new parents, and that is nothing. At Netflix, if you're a new parent at Netflix, you get 1 year of paid time off for all new parents, and that is not even close to the amount of time that you're going to need to catch up on, the different shows that Netflix has. Okay, fine. So Netflix accepts 1 year of paid time off for new parents. Salesforce, a big CRM company, they offer 6 days of paid volunteer time off a year, plus $1,000 to their employees' favorite charity just for volunteer work. Remember, you're competing against these larger companies for people, and people, the millennial generation, who make up 50% of the workforce right now, and who value socially conscious companies, and they value paid time off as well. How about this at Hilton? And this, I'll keep my voice down because this is not a Hilton hotel. But at the Hilton hotels, their hourly employees get up to 10 weeks of paid time off. That's like the people in the kitchens and cleaning the rooms, they get 10 weeks. So we'll keep it quiet. But anyway, so that's what it's at Hilton. CarMax is my favorite one. At CarMax, if you work there, the last quarter of the year, you get together with your boss, and together you determine how much time off you should have in the following year. Kind of like, I got the sniffles and a bit of a cold. I'm thinking like 4 months. Is that okay? Just to get my head, back together. Is that fair? So that's what CarMax says. But that's not even it. How about this? LinkedIn, unlimited paid time off. Unlimited paid time off. That's you can take as much paid time off as you want. That's completely fine. Just by a show of hands here, we're all business owners here. How many companies here are offering unlimited paid time off? Right? That's what I thought. Well, good for you. You know what? You're smarter than these guys. Not only are you smarter, you care about your employees more than these guys at LinkedIn. And do you know why? Because companies like LinkedIn and Facebook and others that offer unlimited paid time off, they are finding that it's making their employees more miserable. The employees are taking less time off when they have unlimited paid time off, because it's like a human nature thing. It's like, it's like if you have like 2 weeks, you use it or you lose it. You're like, well, I better use it or I'm going to lose this, right? What are you going to do? Right? We're going to, right? But if it's left up to the choice of the employees, think about LinkedIn. It's a competitive environment. You get one guy who's working 60-hour weeks, and the guy in the cubicle next to him is taking 4 months off for the sniffles. Who gets the promotion at the end of the year? So people, when it's left up to their judgment, they're not taking it, and because of that, it's making them more miserable at these companies. And you knew that. That's why you don't offer unlimited paid time off. So the next millennial that's sitting across from you and asking you if you offer unlimited paid time off, you say, we thought about it, but we care about you and our employees, and that's why we don't offer it. So just be happy with the 2 weeks that we do offer. All right, so LinkedIn, latest company doing that. One thing I will tell you, there's a lot of trends in paid time off. I know it's far to get here from Philadelphia down to Alabama, but it's not too far. I will find you, and I will search you out if I hear even a rumor that you are offering time off for pet bereavement to your employees. That is just going, right? I mean, like my dog, we had a dog for 14 years. We had this great dog, and our German Shepherd, we loved him so much, and we had to put him down. It was a couple of months ago. It was a Sunday. We were all crying. It was very emotional, whatever. And then Monday came, and I went to work, right? I mean, right? Because I have like a job to do. So please, enough with the pet bereavement. All right. Paid time off, though, is trending up. It's a big issue. And it's going to be a big issue nationally. Because right now, in Donald Trump's budget, which we're going to get to because people have to vote on it soon, that includes 6 weeks of paid time off for new parents, funded through unemployment. Of course, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, they're like, not so fast. We got kind of a budget deficit we're dealing with. But that's a big national issue. This is what Trump wants, inspired by his daughter Ivanka. This is what your employees want. This is what your millennial generation, 50% of the workforce today, they want better paid time off programs. You got to revisit it. So, a couple of actions that you want to take this year. Budget for 3% raises over the next 12 months. Prepare yourself for minimum wage and overtime next year. Start thinking about employees that might be affected. And finally, revisit your paid time off policies this year. Make sure you're competitive with them. Consider traditional ones. That's just like your typical 2 weeks. Paid time off, which includes sick time and vacation, or unlimited. But don't do unlimited because you care about your employees, right? So that's why you don't want to do that. Okay, so true or false? Wages are expected to rise 1% in 2017. False, right? It's 3% in 2017 is how wages are expected to rise. How about this, true or false? Trump supports national paid time off legislation. Yeah, that is true. 6 weeks of paid time off for new parents is what he has in his budget. So that is going to be coming up, and he will continue to submit that year after year. And true or false, you can make a great ponytail for your daughter by using a vacuum cleaner. It is true, and this is how it's done. It's brilliant, don't you think? Isn't that fantastic? Now, just a couple of quick notes here. If you notice, it's the dad who's doing this. He's using an oven in the kitchen as a mirror. Clearly, things are a mess there. Mom is away on business, so it's okay, fine. All right, so here's what we learned. Healthcare costs, very uncertain after 2017. HSAs, high deductible plans, that's what the trends are. In addition to that, wages will be increasing in 2017-18. Pay attention to your paid time off policies and revisit them. Oh, and by the way, I talked about you like a great use for a vacuum cleaner. Just want to make sure this, not a great use for a vacuum cleaner, okay? You just don't want to do that. It's just going to upset everybody. It's just really not a good idea. Okay. Now, because of this whole healthcare re-conversation, we're pushing back tax reform a little bit, but tax reform is coming. Now, you know who this guy is? Steve Mnuchin, right? Secretary of the Treasury. This is the guy that's all behind what's going on with tax reform that is going to be introduced in Congress this year. He is expecting an official plan after Labor Day. Him and 5 others, very influential senators and White House representatives, have been meeting diligently over the past 6 months, putting together a very detailed tax reform plan that is way more so thought out than what healthcare was. So, first of all, just so we know where we are right now, the top highest earners in this country get taxed at 39.6%. The top corporate rate in this country is 35%, one of the highest in the world right now is the top corporate rate. 20% is our capital gains rate, and we have to pay an estate tax if we die or subject to an exclusion of $5.5 million. All of our assets are taxed at 40% right now. That's what the estate tax is. So what is Steve Mnuchin and the Trump administration going to have their detailed tax plan? This is what you can expect to see, and it has an enormous impact on all of us. A really good one, because I'm sure no one here sitting in this room enjoys paying taxes. The top individual rate goes down to 35%. Okay, that affects the very, very wealthy, and that's going to be something I'm sure the media will be all over. But here's the biggie, right? The corporate rate, they're going to propose to decrease to either 15 to 20%. Trump wants 15%. Paul Ryan and McConnell want something higher. They're trying to meet the budget here, but it's 15 to 20%. But here's the big part about this. This reduction in the corporate rate is for S corporations too. So if you file an S corporation, and I know you do, when you file an S corporation now, your income comes to your individual tax return. It gets taxed at a higher rate. Now, if tax reform passes, your S corporation income can be taxed as low as 15 to 20%, which could be an enormous tax savings for all of us here in the room. Capital gains rates will go down now to between 0 and 20%, depending on your income level. There's going to be an elimination of that 40% estate tax. Don't get too excited. Estate tax have been eliminated and then brought back 13 times in U.S. history. It's kind of like your mother-in-law, and you're like, is it Christmas already? And she's back. I can't believe how fast the year goes or whatever. It just keeps coming back and back and back. However, here's the big thing that you'll be hearing when you have the administration and the Republican Party go out and say why tax reform is good. It's about the middle class and the working person. A $12,000 standard deduction. Right now, our standard deduction is about $6,000, $12,000. If you're married filing jointly, a $24,000 standard deduction. Trump before was tweeting some hate messages at H&R Block, blaming them for all the complexity in the tax code. But the bottom line is that filing our tax returns is very complex. Okay. By the way, I'm a CPA, so I hear this stuff and I take it with a grain. I'm a CPA. I'm not a very good CPA. You should know. For me, if it's close enough, it's good enough. And that's not a good way to be if you're a CPA. But I still keep my certification and keep very well up on this stuff. So, the shot at H&R Block, ouch. But okay, it is very complicated. They're going to uncomplicate it by just saying, forget what the itemized tax is. Don't keep track of your receipts. And just take the $12,000 or the $24,000 standard deduction. They're going to eliminate deduction of state taxes, but they're going to keep mortgage interest will stay, charitable deductions, and certain credits for child care as well. What's up for right now discussion is whether or not that Obamacare tax is going to happen. Now, it's all very well and good, except that there is a budget that we have to worry about. There has been 3 separate analyses already done of Donald Trump's proposals or the Trump administration, and all 3 of them come down to pretty much the same conclusion. Over the next 20 years, these tax cuts, unless some of the revenue projections are met, it's going to add $10 trillion to our national debt. Right now, we just surpassed $20 trillion, and it's $10 trillion. So you guys are bankers. That doesn't sound good, right? It sounds like a lot of debt, But what's incredible is that you can ask really smart bankers like Charlie, you can ask Harvard-trained economists whether the national debt is really bad. I swear to God, I can get 10 of them on one side saying, you know what? It's really not so bad as long as you can service the debts, right? And pay the mortgage. It's all well and good. Then I've got 10 of them over here saying it's a calamity. We're going to turn into Italy and Spain, and no one knows. No one knows. But the bottom line is that the projections show that there's a huge, huge gap in revenue funding. And on top of that, you have a budget right now that really, this is where the government spent this money in 2015. 2/3 of its money went to some form of entitlement. Health care, benefits, veterans benefits, Medicaid, Social Security. Nobody's touching that stuff. Nobody's touching that stuff. So we have the final third that's remaining of the budget. And by the way, 6% of that was on interest. That was in 2015 when interest rates like this year have been super low. We all know interest rates are going up this year. They already have. They're going to continue to go up. And 6%, where's that going to come out of? As that level of interest that we're paying on that bigger national debt gets higher and higher, it's an issue. It's a big, big issue that has to be resolved. Okay, listen, that's an issue that these guys are going to be working on. We'll hear about that over the next few months in Congress. Back to what I was talking before about actions. Who cares? Let the politicians worry about that. We'll worry about it when it's all said and done. What do we do right now to reduce our taxes? What steps should we be taking in light of all these conversations to make sure I'm paying as little tax as possible in 2017? I can offer some recommendations for you, okay? So for starters, today is what, September 20th, okay? So there's still time. It's just September 20th. For God's sake, when you leave this meeting, get on the phone, give a call, get together with your accountant for dinner, okay? It's the first thing you got to do. You got to meet your accountant, and you got to talk a little bit with your accountant and make some plans so you can do stuff between now and the end of the year that could impact your taxes. Let me just give you a few things to talk about with your accountant as well. Like this, for example. If you are running a business that buys assets like machinery, equipment, computers, buy more of them. You get a full deduction now. It's permanent as of 2 years ago, up to $500,000 in accelerated depreciation, which means you can buy $500,000 in assets between now and the end of the year. You don't even have to pay for them. Charlie will be happy to finance these assets for you at very low and competitive rates. And as long as you put them into service before the end of the year, you get that tax deduction this year. So that's called the accelerated depreciation. Research and development tax credit. I've seen a bunch of people show a lot of interest in this year. You don't have to be a pharmaceutical firm to do this. You could be a manufacturer. You could be in the poultry business. If you are looking at new products, new services, new techniques in your business, and you've got employees, contractors, materials, samples, people that are doing work and research for new innovations in your business, you can track it, and then you can do this new and improved R&D tax credit calculation. If your accountant isn't so familiar with it, because it's pretty specialized, there's like a cottage industry of people that do this now. They've like popped up over the past couple of years, and it's a credit, guys. So if you earn it, you can apply it to this year's earnings, you can carry it back, you can carry it, I'm just telling you, a lot of business owners are doing this year. They are revisiting the R&D tax credit. Also, AR and inventory. Listen, I look around the room. I see a lot of you, different genders, races, cultures. We all come from different backgrounds. We're all from different places, different states, different countries, whatever. But most of us, we're all business owners. And I can tell you this much. All of us in here have one thing in common as business owners. One day, we will be 85 years old and sitting in a nursing home somewhere in diapers. We will not be able to remember what we had for breakfast that morning, but we will be able to remember right off the top of our head of every customer who stiffed us during the course of our business life. We know it right now, and you know we're never going to forget who those people are. That's because we are glasses half full people. We are business owners and leaders. We are always thinking the best of others. So when we sell them something and then they don't pay for it, it just goes against the core of the universe for us. Like we can't believe that people behave that way, and yet people do behave that way. Well, listen, you got to get over that, okay? Before the end of the year, you sit down and go through your accounts receivable ledger, and you be honest with yourself. If you've got receivables that are sitting there over 120 days, trust me, the guy's not going to pay you, okay? The guy's going to stiff you. If he hasn't paid already, whatever he's not going to pay you. Get it off your books. Put it on a spreadsheet somewhere. Maybe God will smile down on you and you see a check from this guy. Likely not. But write it off before the end of the year. Take that deduction. The same thing with inventory. We are glasses half full people. I know all of you who have inventory, you have bought stuff in the past. You got it from an auction. Maybe a competitor went out of business. It was a deal. It was a steal. You were excited for this piece of inventory. You were going to sell it for 20 times what you bought it for. That was 4 years ago. Still sitting there in your warehouse, right? Like 2 inches of dust on it. So here's the reality. You're not going to sell it, okay? You screwed up. It was a bad deal. It was a bad buy. Sometimes these things happen. It happens to all of us. It's fine, okay? Dispose of it. Get it out. If you can't sell it, then just trash it, scrap it, and write it off. Clean up your AR and inventory. There is money to be found in there to save on your taxes. Employ your kids. You can pay them up to $4,000 a year if they don't have any other income. You don't have to file a tax return for it. You can take the deduction. I'm not saying to put your 6-year-old behind the phones, you know what I mean? Like nothing like that. Like 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, give them a little work experience. Just after you pay them, take that check right out of their hands and put it into a savings account because you know they're going right out and buying an Xbox with it. 529 plans for saving for college. Maximize out retirement plans as well. And in addition, how about the work opportunity tax credit? This was just extended by Congress this year. So now if you employ anybody that's a vet, that's a welfare recipient, they've been long-term unemployed, you can take up to a $9,600 credit on their first year's wages, a credit against future taxes. Again, like the R&D guys, there's a cottage industry of specialized firms that will calculate this for you. In addition, there is a differential wage credit. It's been extended. $4,000 if you are so good, you've got a U.S. military person, active military, on your payroll, and you're paying them, but you know you're paying them more because they're getting paid less from the government. You can get a $4,000 credit per employee. So ask about that as well. Finally, which I don't have on there, pay attention. The tax reform people are talking that if tax reform does go through by the end of the year, they're trying to make it retroactive to January 1st of this year, that's certainly great news. If the winds are shifting and as part of a compromise, the tax reform package takes effect in January 1 of 2018, well, you want to speed up as many expenses as you want into this year. You got to lower your income this year where taxes are higher this year in advance of knowing that you'll have lower taxes in future years. So pay attention to what's going on in DC. Okay, let's see how much we've learned. True or false? The current corporate tax rate is 15%. False, right? It's 35%. The hope is that it comes down to 15 or 20%. True or false? Tax reform will eliminate the mortgage deduction. Okay, that's false. That real estate industry, very powerful people. I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? That's staying. That is staying. Okay, and true or false? The American Institute of Certified Public Accountants provides accommodation for its homeless members. Is that true or false? Well, it's actually false. They live in tax shelters. See, it's like an accounting joke. It's like because we're talking taxes, I thought I'd just sneak that in there. It'd be kind of funny to do. Okay, true or false? G Marks, that's me. My most recent book went to #1 on Amazon.com. False. It's like 800 million on Amazon.com. It's not even there. And what a surprise. My most recent book was the manufacturer's book of lists. You would think, right, that they'd be like flying off the shelves. Every kid would want a copy for Christmas or whatever. Sold like 4 copies. However, in God we trust, everyone else pays cash, continues to sell really, really well, and it's all cash management advice and techniques for small and medium-sized companies. And true or false, G Marks, that's me, however, I have 1 million subscribers to my monthly newsletter. It's nice of you, thank you. It's actually like 10,000, okay, which isn't bad. It's a pretty good start. But here's what this newsletter is. I mentioned earlier, I write in all these different places. I have a few people that help me out with the research that I'm doing. So at the end of each month, I pull one article written by somebody else than me online, who's likely smarter than me, with one piece of advice to help me, forget about you guys, me, run my business. Something like 5 great ways to manage my inventory, or 6 great questions to ask in an interview, or some business advice that I thought was really good that month. And I'm like, all right, listen, I'll put it in this newsletter, and I'll share it with the 10,000 people that sign up for it, okay? If it's good for me, maybe it's good for you as well. Out of all the research that I do every month, so it's 1 tip per month, you can feel free to sign up for it with the information that's there on this screen. Okay, healthcare costs very uncertain after 2017. Health savings accounts, high deductible plans, level funded plans, you want to keep that in mind. Wages will be increasing, but pay attention to paid time off. That's what millennials want, very important. Tax relief is coming, but so are very hard budget decisions. So we're going to keep our eyes on that as well. And finally, in the last few minutes that I have, let's just talk about a few recommended technologies. Now, I know other people before have been talking about security and whatever. Let me just tell you, again, 2018, this year, 2017, my clients using a bunch of different stuff. Let me just share with you guys just 3 like super hot technologies that businesses are using right now that I would like to recommend to you, that I think I'm seeing it in action, and it's like awesome stuff. So number 1 is video. Everybody I know is going video. 80% of the internet is driven by the video now. By 2019, the latest numbers show. The millennial generation, your employees and your customers, they get everything by video, right? I mean, it's a video world. Facebook Live, YouTube, Google Hangouts on Air, Twitter's Periscope, for God's sake, in your business. All you need to do is you hire a college kid for once a month to interview a customer, to interview your employees, to demonstrate a product, to share some knowledge. A 15-minute video. You throw it up, you do it live, it's something to talk about with your customers and with your prospects, and then you can then put it back up on your YouTube channel, and it builds up a library where people can visit and understand the culture of your company. Video is an enormous technology slated to grow significantly in 2018. CRM. Customer relationship management. Everybody in this room should have a customer relationship management system. My wife and I, not very social people, we get sushi every Friday night from like our neighborhood Japanese restaurant. This is what we've done for like 25 years, right? I know, it's not exciting. But we are such good customers of this place that last Christmas, we got a fruit basket delivered from our local Japanese restaurant. A fruit basket. I don't know how many people here, you guys getting fruit baskets from your local, right? Yeah, okay, so that's what I mean. Anyway, these guys have a CRM system. It's a Japanese restaurant. I call them, they have, it's caller ID. They know who I am immediately. They have all my notes by previous orders. They're like, oh, Mr. Marks, same order as last time. And I'm always like, same order, same order. They're very nice. I just don't understand. I can't understand them. So same order. And the order's always perfect. It comes on time. Once a month, I get like a special email with like I get a California roll with a glass of wine. I get a birthday email. I haven't gotten a birthday card for my kids now in like 8 years. But every year, my Japanese restaurant, they send me like a birthday e-card, which is very touching. So anyway, they have a CRM system. You need one too. Salesforce is the granddaddy. It's also the most expensive. It's $125 a month a person. Zoho is the poor man's Salesforce.com. That's what I use in my company, of course. And that's like $20 a month a user, okay? All cloud-based. Everybody that touches your business goes into this system. And then if all your people are using it, no one looks like a dope when a customer calls, and no customers or prospects fall through the cracks. If you're using it and implementing it right, look into a CRM system. It's hugely popular among small and medium-sized companies this year. And finally, ransomware. I know we talked about some security concerns. You guys have been hearing about the ransomware attacks that have been going on. Like the San Francisco public transit system was shut down for 4 days, like last December, because of a ransomware attack. There was a hotel in Vienna where because of a ransomware attack, they got attacked. None of the people staying there, guests, could get in or out of their rooms. Can you imagine if you're out of your mind, you can't get out of your room because the hotel they had to pay a ransom. A ransomware attack, if you haven't been attacked by it, is this. You get an email or somebody downloads something by mistake, or they go to a nefarious website. A little piece of software then flies around your network and your cloud-based systems too, locks everything up. And then you get a message saying, if you want to unlock it, you need a key. And if you want to get the key, you got to pay us $100 in Bitcoin, right? Whatever, right? How many people? I have no Bitcoin on me right now, but you got to get some Bitcoin, and you got to pay them in Bitcoin. This has turned into a $4 billion a year industry worldwide. It is the first security thing that now all these hackers and malware guys can make money off of. Before they would just do malicious software, and then you wouldn't get, how are they getting paid? Here, they're getting ransom from people. You do not want to pay them ransom. So you want to do 3 things, right, when you get back to your offices, because it's attacking so many people. Number 1, update your security software. That'll help to a certain extent. Make sure your employees are trained. Have your IT person come in and just make sure they understand best practices. The most important thing, Get an online backup service now. Carbonite, Mozy, Barracuda, they're like $150 a year. They're backing up everybody's files throughout the day from whatever servers they're using, and they're backing it up automatically. So if you ever get hit by a ransomware attack and these guys are asking you for a ransom, don't pay them the ransom. Because first of all, if you pay them the ransom, these guys have customer service departments now that with an 800 number that you can call. This is true. And that will help you figure out how to get the encryption key and get the Bitcoin and pay off the ransom. You want to do all that. You want to make sure that you're backed up so that when you're finally done, when you get attacked by this, you can just restore from your last good backup. You might lose a couple hours or even a day's worth of work, but you're not giving up any money to these guys and exposing yourself to future attacks. So Carbonite or any online backup system is what you want to be. Video, CRM, and ransomware, 3 hot technologies, 2017 and 2018. Okay? All right, know what you guys want to eat. True or false? Carbonite is a radioactive element from Superman's home planet. Okay, it's false, right? Okay, that's kryptonite, right? Okay, it's kryptonite, right? So Carbonite is the online backup service for protecting yourself against ransomware. True or false? The best way to stop your teenage daughter from taking inappropriate selfies is to take away her iPhone. True or false? It's actually false. And do you know why I know it's false? Because a guy in England, Birmingham, England, his name is Adam McCormick, he actually has a teenage daughter, a 16-year-old daughter, who is taking inappropriate selfies of herself and posting on her Facebook page. So you know what he did? Every time she would take an inappropriate selfie of herself, he would take the same inappropriate selfie of himself and post it onto his Facebook page. This went on for about 10 days. She stopped altogether. They came to a compromise. So don't take away the iPhone. That's what you do. And true or false, this plumber's truck is the best advertising ever. Has anybody ever seen? This guy's like, he's got a whole closet full of green shirts, I'm told. Finally, true or false. According to a recent study in the Journal of Microbiology, 80% of fast food drink dispensers contain fecal matter. True, false. All right, everybody calm down. False. It's only 50%. All right, so everybody's gonna, like 80%. My God, that seems so high. All right, here's what we've learned. Healthcare costs very uncertain after 2017. Remember those HSAs and level funded plans. Wages are going up, but paid time off is your issue. Tax relief is coming. Keep your eyes open. Meet with your accountant. Be aware of some of the budget issues the Senate and the Congress are going to be dealing with. Video, CRM, online backup, key technologies you should be considering this year. So, true or false, you are much smarter than you were a mere 60 minutes ago. Yeah, that is true. So remember, the smartest business owners I know, looking ahead all the time. Take actions on some of these things so you will still be in business 2 or 3 years from now. Your employees, your customers, their families, they will appreciate it. So, everybody, thanks very much. Have a good lunch.